everyone, I'm Georgia and this is The Sound of Georgia. Today I'm going to be talking about the stage version of The Sound of Music and the film version and how they differ in regards to storytelling. So we're not talking about little details like which songs are included and where they're included and who's called what. I did a video all about that a few weeks back. Today's video we're talking about plot and themes. I think I'm going to end up talking about the stage version a little more than the film version because that's just kind of what happened when I made my notes. And more people know about the film than they do the musical, so you can sort of compare in your head. But anyway, let's get started. The musical has much more politics in it than the film. It was toned down for the film because it came out in the middle of the Vietnam War. Scenes with Herzella in the musical are much more obvious than they are in the film, as is the end of the festival. At the end of the festival scene in the musical, we see Max get arrested, which clearly doesn't happen in the film. Then there's No Way to Stop It. No Way to Stop It focuses exclusively on the impending Anschluss and the different political views that Georg and Elsa have. And in the musical, that's why they break up, which makes the love scene a lot less powerful, since Maria knows he's unattached at the beginning. The musical is a lot more tell than show, or at the very least a lot more tell than the film is. I mentioned before that themes are very obvious, but in a sense they're more than obvious, they're spelled out. Going back to the politics, Max's ambivalence to the situation and lack of political convictions are very, very blatantly clear. And it's pretty much a precursor to No Way to Stop It, but it's not mentioned once like it is in the film. Obviously we don't have No Way to Stop It in the film, but we do have that one line about his lack of political convictions. We have that in the musical as well, but we also have two separate occasions where he's getting telephone calls from Berlin. Very spelled out. Now, despite those dark and somewhat sinister moments I've just mentioned, the musical overall is much more lighthearted than the film. In the pre-production for the film, a lot of people were really worried that it could end up being really, really saccharine, because that was the reputation the musical had. And it can be cheesy down to the point of cringy. The musical's also shorter than the film. The musical chops 15 minutes, if not half an hour, off the runtime of the film. I guess it would be the other way round, actually, but you get my point. Elsa's idea to throw the party happens during the How Can Love Survive scene. That's the scene right before Maria and the children arrive for their playtime and Maria and Georg have their big argument. Obviously nobody sings in the movie, but the scene is very much still there. Except not one word about the party. But in the musical we go straight from the Sound of Music reprise to the party. The Lonely Goathead puppet show scene and the Edelweiss scene all completely cut. Brigitte brings up the Edelweiss scene at the party, so we know it happens, but we don't see it. Which brings me to my next point about Brigitte. In the musical, she's the one who tells Maria she's in love with Georg, which prompts her to run away. That also all happens before the children sing So Long Farewell. And this is not a planned event like it is in the film. Elsa has to convince Georg to let them say goodnight, like the way they did last night. Because apparently they plan elaborate musical numbers the night before a party. Yeah, that's a thing. Obviously we see in the film, after Maria and Georg do the Ländler, that the children's goodnight song is very much planned, because Georg says it's time for them to do it. In the musical it's certainly not planned, and he doesn't want them to do it at all, and only gives in because Elsa badgers him. Obviously in both the film and the musical, he realises that singing in the festival is their ticket to getting out of the country alive. But overall in the musical he seems a lot more resistant about the children singing anywhere at all. Overall in the musical, Georg is, I don't want to say weak, but not as strong. In the film he's stronger and quite a bit more consistent. For example, in the musical, during No Way to Stop It, he doesn't miss a beat when he tells Elsa that he would defy the Nazis. And that's all fine and good. His political convictions are a huge part of his character. So that's fine to see. It's great. And then 3 scenes later, he and Maria get back from their honeymoon. He receives the telegram telling him he has to go to Berlin, and Herr Zeller arrives. He's stammering the whole time he's talking to Zeller, and then he asks Maria for help, because he didn't think he'd have to make a decision this soon. To me, it seems like he made the decisions 3 scenes earlier, but maybe not. I don't know if weak would be the term I'd use to describe Georg in the musical, but I definitely say in the film he's a lot stronger. And that can kind of make Julius Maria come across as a bit more, again, I don't want to say passive, but not as strong. But she's not. She's exactly the same. Georg's just a lot stronger. I mean, the musical was written for Mary Martin, essentially, so of course Maria would be the biggest one in there. Because we have to capitalise on our leading lady. I've said it before in other videos, particularly the one I did from a couple of weeks back. But I think the musical is much more a comedy, whereas the film is much more a drama. There's no problem whatsoever with having more political overtones or a romance that isn't quite as strong, but the musical's biggest problem is that it is tell, not show. Yeah, there are those few lines that make me really cringe. Thank goodness Ernest Lehman fixed everything and got rid of them. But even the overall sweetness of the musical isn't really the biggest problem, in my opinion. Honestly, I actually don't think it's a problem at all. The musical's biggest problem is how blatantly obvious it can get. I mentioned Max earlier, but the other big one is Franz. We know he's on the Nazi side, but it's very subtle in the musical. It's almost a case of once you know, when you watch it again, you pick up on things that you might have not picked up on before. Like that scene where we first see Rolf. Very subtle. And then we have that moment where they're all escaping from the house. This is actually one of my favourite moments in the entire movie. That is all we need to see to know where his loyalties lie, and it's so powerful. The musical works fine. In fact, it's very, very good. There's a reason it's Rodgers and Hammerstein's most popular show. With that being said, I think the movie has a stronger plot overall. Not simply because it's much more subtle and a lot more show than tell than the musical is, but because in a lot of ways I feel like it makes more sense. There are a lot of things in the musical that, while they make perfect sense, I feel like they make more sense in the movie, if that makes sense. And that's everything I've got for you today, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you prefer the film version, or do you think the musical works perfectly as is? Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my video next week. So long, farewell!